Hi, everybody. This is Coach Allison, and I'm back with your week 25 Defy Aging. Okay, this week we have stations, but they're set up a little differently. So at each station, of which there's actually only four, but at each station there's two exercises. So each station is set up as what we call a superset, which means you go between two exercises kind of back to back. So you're going to stay at each superset for 3 rounds of 30 seconds on, 20 seconds off. So the the rest time is really short, but that's because you're not really doing a full rotation around the whole turf. You're just going back and forth between those two exercises. So you're going to stay in one little area. Okay, so you'll stay in that superset for 3 rounds of 30 seconds on, 20 seconds off. When you're done with that little round, those 3 rounds at that superset, you're going to then move on to the next full station. So again, there's 4 of those supersets. You're only going to do one full rotation around the turf. That might have sounded a little confusing, but it'll make more sense once your coach is there and you're in person going through it. So there's a total of 8 exercises. Let's go through what they are. So station 1 is an underhand TRX row. So many of you are familiar with our standard TRX row, which your grip is going to be like this, which we call a neutral grip. Okay, the underhand is going to be like this, so it's a supine grip. But you might notice when you're doing this, your grip might want to turn in just a little, and that's okay. So it doesn't have to be a super strict underhand position. So it might turn in a little bit like this, and that's okay. So let me come on over to the TRX and show you. I hope you can see my grip okay. Maybe I can get a little closer. All right, so again, traditional row, my palms are turned in like this. But watch my grip, I'm going to turn it to that underhand. Now with the TRX row, the farther down you step like this, the lower you get, the harder it's going to be. So if you want it to be a little bit lighter, come on up like this. Keep your shoulders down, so don't allow any shrugging. Elbows are snug into your side, so the elbows aren't flaring out. And so you're going to keep that underhand grip like this. Don't allow your hips to kind of dip down and back like this. No thrusting with the hips. Don't pull yourself up so much that you are creating slack in the TRX. As soon as you come up and feel that the tension would release. So if I came up anymore, the tension would release. So that's where I'm going to stop, because you always want to keep the tension on the straps at all time. So that's our underhand grip TRX row. Second one is seated bicep curls. So I'm just going to sit on one of these boxes, whatever height feels okay. And make sure you're far enough off the edge though, so your hands can come all the way down. So if I was, for example, seated too far on here, my hands couldn't come down. So I'm going to sit way on the edge, so now my weights can come all the way down. And we're just going to curl the weights. Pretty straightforward. Slow and steady. We'll make sure you're not picking a weight that's so heavy where you have to like shrug your shoulders up though, so just be careful for that. And you want to make sure that you're not letting the weights fall and sink down and kind of pull you down. So be careful for that. So just go slow and controlled is all. So that's going to be the first superset, that TRX row with those seated curls. Next station, narrow chest press. So our standard chest press is elbows kind of out at a 45-degree angle, right? Watch my arms. Narrow chest press, I'm tucking those arms in. So my arms are kind of flush with my side here. And of course, that changes your grip too. My grip is now a neutral grip, so my palms are turned in towards each other, not forward. And I'm going to press straight up, straight down. Okay, so it is very, very different. It's still a chest exercise, but it's going to involve a little more triceps than a normal press. Okay, when you put your weights down, just put them down just like that. That's the safest way to put weights down from a chest press. Anyone staying off the floor, where your coach is going to wheel in an incline bench for you for a way to do this exact same exercise, but staying off the floor. Okay, so the superset with that narrow chest press is going to be a tricep push down. So we're going to hit the backs of the arms here. So we're going to use a band hooked up to something high, whatever it is in your club. All right. So you want to be a little bit backed away from it. You don't want to be directly underneath it. I like to stagger my stance like this. You can do a stance with your feet together. All right. Elbows are upper arm is glued to your side, so we don't want the full arm shouldn't be moving like this. That's too much movement. So I like to say, pretend there's Velcro or glue, whatever, on your upper arm, and it's glued to your rib cage, your side of your rib cage here, okay? Maybe that's stupid, but that's what helps me. And you're extending from the elbow down and bending. That's the only part of your arm that's moving. Exhale on the way down. Slow and steady. Full extension. So if you stop right here, you know, you're not going to injure yourself, but you're not getting the full benefit. To be honest, from here to here, it's really just getting you to the sweet spot. So from here to here is where the magic happens. So we want that full extension. If you're not feeling too much, you can use a firmer band, but to be honest, really, if you just take a little step back, create a little more distance, and that's going to increase the resistance. So that might be enough to give you a little more oomph. You might not need to have your band. Okay, so exhale down. Again, try to avoid making it this big. We don't want all this movement. It's a small, tight little movement, and that's our tricep push down. First exercise for superset 3, so station 3, alternating overhead press. Nothing fancy, going back to basics on this one. Alternating, so not the seesaw, just one at a time. Palm forward, okay? Engaging your core, so I want to make sure we're not like overarching the back and kind of leaning back here. I'm exaggerating it to make a point, but so make sure you're pulling in that belly button so you can keep a nice tall stance without leaning back and overarching your back like this. And yes, that is our alternating overhead press. Exercise 2 of superset 3 is a low plank with a shoulder tap. Show you a couple options here. You can start this on the knees, on the floor. So we're doing a knee plank on the elbows. So remember, a knee plank is not butt way up like this, because this isn't engaging any ab muscles. So inch your elbows forward, sink those hips down. Once you're in the plank, let me turn now to the front. We're taking the arm completely off the floor, touching the opposite shoulder. So it is important that you're, watch my arm, moving the elbow completely from the floor. We're not just doing this, leaving the elbow there, okay? Because that's not doing much different. You can pop up to the toes if you have if you're advanced enough for that. Again, still removing the elbow completely from the floor. And of course, we always have the option for an incline, right? So taking that up to an incline, removing, of course, the elbow, again, still completely from the incline. If you're doing an incline, make sure that your hips are level though. We don't want to be doing this. This isn't a plank. A plank is hips down, should have relatively a straight line from the back of your head to your heels. So see how I have relatively a straight line from my head to my heels? Now I don't have a straight line from my head to my heels. That's very important with the plank. And there's always an option of holding an isometric plank and taking out that shoulder tap. That can be something for you to work towards, because the shoulder tap, adding that in is already quite advanced. So feel free to work up towards that if needed. And superset 4, we're going to hit the legs. Goblet squat is the first one. So we have our kettlebell up at the chest. Make sure it's not actually touching your body. It's not like resting here. So it is, but don't hold it way out here. So just like an inch away from your body. Up high, don't let it drop way down here. We actually do want it way up here. And I want you to find your normal squat stance, which is like feet hip width apart. Okay, so for me, this is about, my normal squat stance, about my hip height, hip width. But I do want us to go a teeny bit narrower. Not a full narrow squat, but I want you to go a little bit narrower than normal. And reason being, I do want this to target more of the quads, and a little narrower stance just targets more of the quads. So, and we sink those hips down and back, not letting this kettlebell drop, meaning we're not letting the chest drop too much. So sink the hips down and back like you're sinking into an imaginary chair. Okay, I'm keeping my chest up like this, not down like this. This isn't really a squat. This is, okay. Get as low as you're able. I was getting pretty low there. You get as low as you're comfortable, as low as your hips and knees and strength will allow. Okay, and that's our goblet squat. Feel free again to work up to using a weight. If you're not there yet, that is okay. I do prefer kettlebells for this because of the bottom loaded weight, and they fit really nicely and comfortably in your hands like this. So you want to use a kettlebell for this. The second exercise for the final circuit for circuit 4 is it's a stability ball hamstring curl, which is extremely honestly advanced. So I'm going to show you other options first that build up to that full stability ball curl. So I'm going to go through this as fast as I can. It might take a while. Okay. So the first variation, alternative place to start is doing a hamstring or a hip bridge on an incline. So you'll see I have a bench here. I'm going to lay on the floor. Heels are on the bench. Okay. I want about a 90-degree bend in my knees, maybe a tiny bit bigger than that, but about 90. Feet are flexed. I'm not pressing into the edge of the bench. My heels are on top of the bench. See that? And I'm going to lift my hips and lower. So this is a place to start. If you have mastered this, okay, the second progression is doing that exact same thing I just did, but on a stability ball. Okay, so heels are on the stability ball. Again, 90-degree bend in the knee. Now, why is this a progression? Because a bench is stable, stability ball is not. So I have to stabilize it on my own. That's why it's the next progression up. So not only are you doing the strength of lifting, but you're stabilizing. That's the next progression. Okay. Now the next progression, which is the full, I got to get under this bench. I didn't space this out very well, did I? The full name of this station, again, the one that's the most full advanced one, is the hamstring curl with the ball. So now you start with the heels on the ball, but notice how my legs are now fully stretched out. Okay, heels are on the center, top of the ball, I should say. All right, I'm going to lift my hips. That already requires a lot of stability and balance. Now I'm going to keep my butt off the floor. See how there's space here? And I'm pulling my heels in, and you see how my hips went higher as I did that? And as I extend, my hips are going to lower, but still not all the way to the floor. And this is the full stability ball hamstring curl. You're really going to feel these hamstring and glute muscles getting hot and tense. Probably the calves too. Notice how my feet in the full position are flat on the ball. So that is the full stability ball hamstring curl. Extremely advanced. That's why we started with all those other options first to work up to that. Bench, hip bridge, ball, hip bridge, then the full ball hamstring curl. For anyone staying off of the floor for any of our exercises, your coach will demonstrate for you. We're going to do a kettlebell deadlift. I'm not going to toss that demo into this video. We do it all the time. If you are newer, your coach will demonstrate it for you. But it does target the same muscle groups, such as hamstrings and glutes. So that will be your alternative for anyone staying off the floor. Okay, so stability ball, hamstring curl. Team builder, my goodness, that got my hair on, is going to be 2 teams. Now, if there's 4 or fewer people, I should say fewer than 4, so 3 or fewer people in your team, we're just going to have one team and everyone's going to work together to do this. If there's 4 or more, however, I want you guys to split into 2 teams and you're going to have a race for this. If there's an uneven number, your coach gets to hop into one of the teams. So we've done this before. Do a battle rope relay. Everyone lines up. Everyone is going to run through first and do 30 double arm slams. So 30 of these. Keep a good count because you don't want to lose count. You're in a hinged position. So notice how my hips are back. I'm not just squatted down like this. 30 big slams. Drop them down, run to the back of the line. The next person does 30. Each person in the line does 30. And then you keep the line going. Then everyone starts and does 20. And then everyone goes through and does 10. The first group to finish all of that first is the big winner. So it's kind of a race. You're kind of cheering each other on. So that's going to be our main cardio, big metabolic cardio finisher for the day or for the week. So that is the team builder, and have fun. All right, that's week 25. I hope you enjoy it. See you back next week.